This is a content warning for multiple depictions of murder. If you're worried this might affect you, stop watching this video now. Due to the mature nature of Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc, viewer discretion is advised. The PlayStation Vita has a complicated history of expensive memory cards, dropped first-party support, and not entirely delivering on the console gaming on the go promise Sony made when it first arrived on the scene. However, for many fans like myself, the Vita became this grossly underrated piece of tech that never got a fair shake. But now, as the system has officially gone out of production, we can look back on the console's library. You'll find a wealth of independent game developer support and a pretty dedicated fan base who still swear by the Vita and try to snag every single limited run game that comes out. And to me that's really cool because it keeps this little system that could alive. But similar to how the DS and the 3DS share jokes of being Pokemon machines for players, the Vita has been deemed a Persona 4 Golden machine, and not without reason. Having a phenomenal game like Persona 4 Golden on the go in your pocket is amazing. But much like the DS and 3DS's libraries are more than just Pokemon, the Vita's library goes far deeper than just Persona 4 Golden. While I love the limited time I spent with Persona 4, and I've really been meaning to jump back into it, the real killer app on Vita for me was Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc. So today we're going to go back to class to study what makes this game so memorable to me. Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc is a murder mystery visual novel that originally was published for the PSP in Japan in 2010 and made its way to the Vita overseas in 2014, and that's when I played it with my college roommate. It also came later to PS4, Steam, and was recently released on smartphones as part of a 10-year anniversary of the series. Now, since this game is very much a visual novel and it's about the story, I'll only be using footage from the first few days in the game up through the end of the first trial period, because everything I show you can be considered the tutorial phase of the game, and I'm trying to spoil as little as possible while explaining what I really like about it. To be frank, in 2014 I was a bit hesitant to pick up Danganronpa because this type of game was pretty far out of my wheelhouse. I hadn't really ever experienced a visual novel before and I didn't know what to expect. By the time I finished explaining the concept of the game to my roommate, we were in the car on the way to pick it up on launch day. But what is this concept that got us intrigued in the first place? Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc tells the story of a boy named Makoto Naegi. A boy selected at random to go to Hope's Peak Academy, a school for only masterful students who are the ultimate prodigies their trades have to offer. For instance, you've got the ultimate baseball star, the ultimate computer programmer, the ultimate pain in my ass, and the ultimate fanfic writer and biker gang leader. Anyway, these students are the 15 people carrying the torch of hope into the future. As Makoto was randomly chosen to be a part of this elite class, he is considered the ultimate lucky student. Outside of his incredible luck, he is as average as they come, a quality that Makoto wrestles with as he questions how qualified he is to be included among these great students. But upon arriving for his first day at Hope's Peak, Makoto passes out and wakes up in an empty classroom with the windows and doors covered in thick metal plates that prevent anyone from leaving, and cameras that monitor every single move everyone makes. This fear continues to build as all of the classmates join together and confirm that all of them passed out on arrival, confused as to what happened to them when they awaken. Without being given too much time to process what has happened, Darkest Timeline Dean Pelton from Community spawns in as the 2'2" demon teddy bear robot, Monokuma. Both the Dean and Monokuma love to use puns.
Come on, I'm Dean, and my hands are so clean. At this moment, I am stapling.
And both love to rave. Monokuma explains that they better get comfy in their surroundings because the rest of their lives will be spent within the confines of Hope's Peak without any hope of escape, unless one of the students manages to get away with murdering a fellow student and surviving a class trial that attempts to deduce who committed the crime. It's a classic whodunit. If the murderer survives and throws the class off the trail, they're free to go, leaving the remaining students to die from a wildly orchestrated execution from Monokuma. If you haven't already realized it, Danganronpa is pretty freaking dark. The idea of kids perishing is alone a lot darker than we're used to, but having them take each other out to escape their prison takes it to a whole different level of despair, a theme that runs throughout the game. After finding out the stakes, you start to realize how different all the characters are outside of their designs. You have the ultra-logical students who are trying to remain realistic and logical about the situation, and then you have the highly emotional students who have an undying hope that they'll be saved by the authorities from the outside world. These left brains and right brains clash throughout the story as everyone tries to cope and find escape. These students start to form smaller groups and relationships, and the dynamics of the student life begin to change, and the "we're all in this together" mentality starts to break down as these relationships grow and the murders continue to happen. By the time you're a few days into your new school life, you're probably going to have your favorite characters and the characters you simply can't stand. The variety is a strength for sure because you question if you ever really know what everyone else is thinking and what they're capable of doing. And I can assure you that by the time the game is over, there will be so much twisted and unveiled that many of the characters will be unrecognizable from the people you began your stay at Hope's Peak with. You might just change your mind about the characters that became your favorite in the beginning. For the first few days, the students managed to stay safe in spite of all the discomfort. This is where the first portion of the gameplay lies: free time. During your days at Hope's Peak, you can spend time with any of the characters you want in order to increase your relationship levels and gain special skills that can be used in trials later on. Monokuma gets very bored with everyone getting along and decides to add some gasoline to the already very volatile situation. He gifts everyone a personalized DVD that shows the things they love being torn away from them right before their eyes. Makoto's family disappears and his house appears to be torn to shreds. When pushed about his intentions with these home videos that he's made, Monokuma slowly reveals that the goal is to take the hope for the future that the class represents and turn it into despair for the entire world to see. And on top of that, all your fellow students have something to lose that exists outside of Hope's Peak's walls if they fail to escape. And those DVDs bring those obligations and fears and responsibilities and loved ones to the forefront of everyone's minds. The rest of the students try to keep their DVDs private from everyone else, but the tensions begin to rise along with the stakes. Naturally, these DVDs do the trick, and our first murder takes place shortly thereafter as someone finally snaps under the pressure. In his first week on campus, Makoto takes a liking to Sayaka, the ultimate pop sensation who happened to go to Makoto's school for 3 years before they ended up together again. A small flame begins to burn between—
Boom, she's dead!
On the night of her passing, Sayaka switches rooms with Makoto because she has a bad feeling that someone was coming to kill her, and the next day she is discovered dead in Makoto's shower. Now Makoto is suspect number 1, and he has to gather evidence to make sure the trial doesn't result in the killer getting away. This begins the second facet of gameplay: investigation. You have to search the school for clues as to what could have happened in the moments leading up to, the moments during, and the moments that follow the murder in order to suss out who did the crime. Once enough evidence has been gathered, the class is escorted in an elevator to the trial room where the third part of gameplay begins: the class trial. Monokuma sits on his stands as the judge and executioner because the cameras that line every room capture the entire event, and thus he knows exactly who did it. The trial takes place in an unorthodox fashion with everyone standing in a circle and able to speak and ask questions and present evidence. As text and testimony fly across the screen, you have to take the evidence that you have gathered and fire truth bullets into the text to correct mistakes and misconceptions and inconsistencies about what happened. Shooting holes into testimony gives the game a lot of very distinct style. My only complaint is that as the game goes, sometimes you don't know what the game wants you to fire your truth bullets at. There were several times where I knew what was wrong with the testimony, but the text options I was firing at didn't really give me a clear path forward, and I ended up getting a few game overs and starting over a few sections of the trial. Once you're later on into the testimony, there's a rhythm game where the accused basically tries to deflect everything, and you use the rhythm to break down their arguments as to why they couldn't have done it. It's funny, and I wasn't expecting to see this the first time I played it. And finally, right before you make a final verdict, you piece together pieces of evidence into a comic strip by filling in the blanks of what happened. Once you solve that, the class makes a final judgment over who did the murder. If they choose correctly, Monokuma executes the murderer, and the students get to survive to die another day. But Danganronpa is more than just a murder, trial, lather, rinse, repeat. The story flows on between trials as the students get closer and closer to revealing the truth about Hope's Peak, why they're trapped in the academy in the first place, and who is truly behind Monokuma. There are so many twists and turns in the story that it keeps you hooked the entire time because as soon as you think you've figured it out, another wrench is thrown into everything. As someone who played this game for a second time for this playthrough and video, I was surprised at how much I picked up on this time that I missed initially, even though it's been years since I played the game last and I could have sworn I forgot a lot more than I actually did. There's just so much to like about the game outside of the story too. The graphics and the art style of this game are excellent. I love the way the assets pop up into the environment like a pop-up book. I already mentioned how much I love the variety of characters. I also love the choice of making blood pink, which makes it jump off the Vita screen beautifully, while also making the concept of murder ever so slightly less grim. The music is great too. I've gotten many different tracks from this game stuck in my head over the last 6 years since I played it for the first time, and it's been so long that I kind of forgot they were from Danganronpa, but now I'm like, oh, that's where it's from. To me, Danganronpa is the whole package, a game that might push you out of your gaming comfort zone and get you playing a genre you might not have tried otherwise, and if you do, it'll make you glad you gave it a chance. It'll sink its teeth in you and won't let up until you make it to the end. My college roommate and I both finished our respective playthroughs in about a week and a half in between our classes and studying. We would talk about the twist in the story and how we didn't see different events playing out and our theories as to what would happen next. It's not wholly necessary, but if you can, find someone to play this with you for the first time because it becomes this extended detective movie where you both are trying to figure out and guess what happens next. You won't regret it. And if you can't be bothered playing the game, you can watch the anime adaptation of the game on Hulu, Danganronpa the Animation. It'll get the job done, but honestly, in my humble opinion, it glazes over one of the best parts of the game, which is the investigation period. It's really just quickly paced and a bit difficult to keep up with if you haven't played the game beforehand. It's just very rushed, in my opinion. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I want to give a special shout out to the Vita hacking community because without them, I could have never done this. I had to hack my Vita to get video out to record gameplay because there's no way I'm spending $300 on a PlayStation Vita TV at this point in time. But without them, and their very, very helpful tutorials and guides, I got this to work, and I think it came out pretty well. The Vita hacking community is a very welcoming, broad, cool community, so if you're ever stuck and want to figure out something to do with your Vita, definitely check out some hacking guides to really expand what you can do with it. But if you like the video, be sure to leave a like on it. Talk to me about Danganronpa in the comments. Did you play the game when it first came out? Have you not played it yet? Has this video changed your mind on whether or not you're going to play it? Please talk to me in the comments. I love talking to y'all. It's part of the reason I love this so much. And lastly, if you want more videos like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to make sure you never miss one of my uploads. But until next time, I am under 10 hours. Thanks again and have a great rest of your week.